Tisha!
Tiana.
What have you been up to?
Well, I've just been doing a lot of music like usual, but I've been writing a lot more songs. And we've been gearing up for this show.
Yeah,
It's
the
finally
release of this
airing.
show.
Right. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, same with me, honestly. I've just been kind of working out, Tiana fitness program,
Oh my God.
keeping it up, doing some school, playing my guitar, my piano,
Nice.
watching some Star Wars, me and Mr.
Oh my
Grogu.
gosh. I love it. Same old, same old.
So how are you staying grounded nowadays during the pandemic?
I would have to go back to writing music because that music's just very meditative for me, and it's kind of like an outlet for whenever I don't really know how to express my emotions or what I'm feeling. So yeah, that's how I stay grounded. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'll agree too. I think definitely during the pandemic as well, like as creatives, it's hard because we kind of just had to stop everything that we were doing.
Right.
So I definitely kind of went back to music, and there's nothing like just feeling super stressed and be like, I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to play something. I'm just going to write something.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Well,
kind of
let's
music
get
do
into
you
these
write?
questions. Okay.
Cool. Why did you decide to take this project?
Yeah, I think I decided to take on Big Shot because of how it just seemed like the perfect mix of comedy and drama. And, especially when I read the script, I saw that it wasn't just a basketball show. Like there were so many complex characters and storylines. And especially with my character Destiny, I think that just off of reading her in that first kind of initial draft, I could already see how complex she was and how much room I was going to have to kind of like play as an actor inside of who she is, which is the most fun, obviously. I mean, what about you? What about you with Mouse? What did you like about her?
I really like how much of a blank slate she was at first because I didn't really know much about the character when we first auditioned because it was just like a couple lines here and there. But with Dean Laurence, he's incredible. He's an incredible writer, and it feels like we basically built Mouse together in a way. We found different characteristics that I personally had, and we incorporated that into Mouse, and that's just been really fun to work with.
I love him so much. I think that he did that honestly with me as well. I mean, there's nothing like the kind of like development that comes from being able to work through a character. And I think also once he met all of us too, he kind of added that into our characters on the screen. So I know that your dad, he played basketball.
Yes.
Whereas your family basketball fans in general though, before, were you into any sports?
No, like I said, I'm very artistically driven, and I haven't really played any sports before this, and my family's not as big of basketball and sports fans as your family is. But yeah, my dad used to play a lot in the Philippines in college, so he really loves the sport. So he really helped me when we had this audition, and I didn't know anything about the sport, and I didn't really understand the world. So he really helped me gain a little bit of confidence to fake it enough to get into the show.
Yes. I mean, and you said it too, like my family as well. Like I grew up kind of playing with my brother because he played so much. And so, yeah, I think there's a little bit of faking, I think for all of us, all five of us, the girls, but we made it. And I would say we're a team now. I mean, honestly.
Speaking of us being a team, how did the trust and bond as a team, how did we create that on set?
Ooh, on set. I mean, I think for sure it was all the basketball training before, just getting to know each other. Because, that first day on set, a lot of times that's kind of your first day meeting everyone you're going to work with besides, one table read. And so because we spent those months just training with each other, I think, and becoming that team, the chemistry that we created really kind of transferred to the screen. And I think that's what makes it so kind of drawing to watch us interact because they feel like real interactions because they are. I think honestly, like the way that we are on screen is probably 99.99% exactly how we are.
mean, I like to think you're a little nicer to me off screen.
Okay, definitely. That's the point one. That's the point oh one. Okay, there's some moments.
Right.
So how have you changed kind of before and after this project?
Well, that's a good question. I feel like I've gained a lot more confidence as a human and also as an actor, because this is my first big show and yours too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts of this industry that I didn't really think about. And after this experience, I feel like I have a better grasp of what it really means to be an actor and what the job entails. And just like the confidence I gained personally, just by learning from you guys and working with you guys, I feel like kind of a different person in a good way. What about you?
Honestly, I love that you say that too. Kind of like, I think what this job has taught me, especially with how long it's kind of taken us because of all this pandemic stuff, it's like I've learned how to be so determined, I think, because it's a lot to kind of wake up at these hours and then also to have to worry about COVID on top of all of it, and then to have to learn new lines every single day. And I think both of us, we kind of were in this kind of new environment where it was our first series regular. And so I think when my friends ask me too, they're like, what do you think is so different about you? It's like, I think I just understand hard work like so much more, and like really just being determined about the thing you love, because I think you have to love it, honestly, to do what we do. What is it like working with big boy John Stamos?
I'm going to take the words you said right out of your mouth, and I'm going to say he's a goober. And he's the silliest man, but he's also the most caring and compassionate man. And him being our number one is honestly a blessing, because he knows this industry so well at this point. And I feel like he can vouch for the fact that he really took us under his wing and he taught us so much throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I think he really did. He really did. And I think also, like, kind of like you said, like having him as a number one cast member, it's like, you know, there were so many different ways that it could have played out. You know, he could have totally just kind of kept himself in the trailer and been, you know, very kind of standoffish. But I think he's such a family person himself, and he's such a huge Disney fan. As like I said, it's like, it makes complete sense. So I loved having him. I mean, and I told you, it didn't really feel like John Stamos. It just felt like, you know, a goober. I love him. All right.
How do you approach? How do you approach being vulnerable on camera?
You know, I think for me, when it comes to acting, I kind of blur the lines between myself and the character. You know, I don't just see it as like Destiny's story. It's my story. And so, you know, I think that when I find those types of connections with the character, it makes it even easier to play her, especially in those scenes where I have to be super sad, or, you know, I have to breach a topic that I don't really want to talk about, or that Destiny doesn't really want to talk about. And, you know, I think that for me, I don't really need to find a place, you know, like go to a place or find a way to be vulnerable, because I'm so invested in who I've become that for me, it just kind of comes really naturally. What about you?
I would have to say the same thing as you, but I think acting is a lot of imagination and a lot of imaginative work. The best actors, I think, blur the lines of reality and fiction, and they like blend their personalities into the character. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Okay, Tisha, time to get down. What was it like when you first immigrated to the United States from the Philippines?
Well, I was about 3 years old, so I don't remember much, but I specifically remember my parents going, this is a land of opportunity that we're going to be in, and you can be whatever you want when you grow up. And looking back at it, I didn't really realize how many sacrifices my parents made just to give me the life that they thought I deserved and the life that they wanted for themselves, and they couldn't get that in the Philippines. So I'm just incredibly grateful for my family to immigrate here.
Beautiful. And was there like a moment maybe in your that you feel like you just didn't fit in?
Honestly, I feel like I'm still kind of struggling with this, but Asian American culture, well, Asian culture in general is just a lot more reserved and more. You have to keep a good front wherever you go. And here in America, I feel like everybody's more extroverted and everything's more outwardly put. So I feel like, yeah, that made me a little, that made me feel like I didn't really exactly fit in, especially because this industry is just very extroverted. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, honestly. And I think also going back to what we were saying about Asian culture, it's like we're kind of in professions that in Asian culture you don't really see. You know, I mean, I think that just us being here and kind of representing Asian Americans on the screen is something that you don't see a lot of. And so I think we're in a really very special place to be able to represent that because, I think we even spoke about it earlier today. Like growing up, we didn't really see people who looked like us. We didn't see people who we could look at the screen or look at the cartoons we were watching or look at really anything and be like, oh, she looks like me. I get it. Like, I don't know. Did you ever watch Ni Hao Kai Lan?
Oh, yeah.
But like, that was it. That's all we had. Oh, man, just, geez. The fact that she's a cartoon. Yeah.
We had Mulan.
We did have Mulan as well. We did, but she was before us, honestly. Like, I don't think she's before we were born. So, yeah.
Tiana. In the show, you were portrayed as someone that's passionate and confident about who they are and what she believes in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, I think that that's what made Destiny's character such a fit for me, right? Like I'm passionate about the stuff that I believe in. And so those characteristics in her are definitely the ones that I pulled from when it came time to playing her. But I think what made her so fun to play was that, Dean, our writer, he would write in these little moments where I would not relate to her at all. And so I kind of had to put myself in the situation. And it was interesting because I had to, yes, see myself, but then make a different choice than I would have made personally. And so that's when I had the most fun playing her for sure. But yeah, she's very strong and she's very passionate. And sometimes that gets her into trouble.
I know you mentioned earlier about how you tried to incorporate your culture, you're both Vietnamese and Black in your character. How do you deal with the stereotypes in your everyday life?
Well, I think I deal with stereotypes by breaking them. And like refusing to conform to them, because at the end of the day, those are standards and ideas that, are someone else's. They're not the ones that I have for myself. And I'm super grateful, for my mom, kind of like you said about, the way our parents sacrificed for us. And my mom was an immigrant as well. She immigrated from Vietnam during the Vietnam War. And so I know that I come from these very, very rich and diverse cultures. I'm half Black and I'm half Vietnamese. And so for me, I think that in order to break the stereotypes, I really try to embody those cultures and honor them, make sure that they're seen on the screen, make sure that I'm, not trying to change myself to fit into what we're used to seeing on screen and presenting something different.
Beautiful.
All right, let's go into these. I'll say, looking back on your lived experiences, was there a moment that you felt timid? How did you overcome it, Tisha?
Okay, Tiana. I felt a little timid when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do after high school, because I knew I really wanted to be an actor, but I also had a bunch of other random passions that I wanted to go to school for. And it was a little weird because I went to a college preparatory art school and everybody they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They all wanted to go to Harvard. They all wanted to be in a specific field. And I was still so curious about everything. And it made me a little insecure about what my decision was eventually. But I overcame that by really taking ownership of who I am and knowing that I don't have to figure everything out at this very moment.
And I love that. I love that too, because I think that we see that in our characters in the show too. Like, I think Destiny, for sure, when she starts in basketball, she doesn't really know what she wants from basketball. And I think with Mouse coming from that military family, can you talk about that maybe?
Well, she's very, because of her military family background, she's very rigid and she's very strict to the rules. And I feel like because of that, she didn't really have a chance to explore much about who she is yet. And especially because she's still so young. Yeah, she's just trying to grow into her own in a way that that can make sense to her, you know? As humans, how do we go through changes and allow us to reflect, evolve, and embrace ourselves? What has introduced the biggest challenge in your life thus far?
Well, I mean, I think change can be really scary. I'm one of those people. But it's something that I do embrace. And, you know, every time I've been faced with change in my life, even when it seemed like it was just the absolute wrong decision, and I tried to fight it with every bone in my body, in the end, it's always come out for the better. You know, like my junior year, I mean, I've talked to you guys about it, but, you know, I was rowing and I honestly thought that I was going to take the athlete route to college. I mean, it's what I saw my brother do. It's just what I thought would be safest. But then I booked a show. And so suddenly I had to pick, and I cried. I mean, I chose acting, but I cried for like a few days because it was scary. It was scary to make this huge change all of a sudden from, you know, knowing kind of this really like rigid plan of like, oh, I'm just going to do this and go here and go there, to being like, oh, you're going to act and wait for your next job and just be like kind of in the middle. But, you know, now I know I made the right decision. You know, I mean, look at us. We are on a disneyplus original series.
Great, Tiana.
Yes. Oh, thank you. You're doing pretty well too. Wait, are you?
Oh, thanks.
Are you on a show? Wait. Anyway, wait a minute.
I don't know.
Anyways, let me finish my sentence. So, but you know, I was pursuing my passion is kind of what I'm saying. And so when change comes, I honestly believe that sometimes like we are forced out of situations so that we can grow and change and kind of move on to the next stage in our life. Whereas otherwise we would kind of like sit in it.
Right.
All right. Tisha.
Yes.
Currently, there's been a lot of anti-Asian hate and sentiments. How can people begin to show up and continue to show up for the Asian community?
I think the same way we show up for other humanitarian rights, we just have to be good people. Just because someone doesn't come from the same background as you or has the same skin color as you doesn't mean that they're less than you. And I think the best way to show up is just to be a good neighbor and to check up on people that you care about.
True. Preach.
Okay, Tiana, what's next for you? What do you want to continue and do and create?
Well, hopefully next for me is a bunch more seasons of Big Shot. Whoop. Because it's an amazing show. I mean, it really is. And obviously biased, but I really feel like people are going to love it. And I know that when they watch it and they see all the amazing characters we have, they're just going to be hooked. I mean, even me, like being in the show, I'm like, I want to see like, what's Richard doing? Let me go watch Richard's scene. Like we have so many little like gems in the episodes. And I think that people are just going to love it. And then I guess what I want to continue to do, I mean, I think I just like to create in general, you know, just continue doing that. And in addition to the acting, you know, I write and I make music and I sing. And I think just being creative is like where I thrive. And I'm sure you can relate as well. I mean, we talked about it in the beginning of this little interview, you know, like that creative space is like a safe space. So I'm excited for what the future has. I think we're kind of at the beginning of a very cool stage in our life and our careers. And I'm so happy to be sharing it with you, Tisha. What is next for you? What do you want to do?
I hope for more seasons of Big Shot because we have such an incredible cast. I love everyone involved in this show. I love you. I love working with you. Yeah, just again, creating, we're artists. I think it's a big part of our outlet and how we express what we're feeling. And I think it's also it's a very important thing to share with the world. So I'm gonna be writing a bunch of songs. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm gonna keep writing. Yeah.
Yes, and hopefully I will see you in person on the set of Big Shot. Season 2. Ooh,
I hope so.
I hope so. Well, Tish Kebab, it's been such a ride.
Yes, too.
And I'm really grateful to have you by my side, as well as the rest of the girls. And I think if there's anything else you would say, now is the time to say it.
I just want to say I love you again, because
I think I'll just say it too. I love you.
It's been 2 years of knowing you. I'm not tired of you yet.
Isn't that crazy? I honestly feel like I've known you forever. And Tisha, it's actually crazy though, because we lived 10 minutes away from each other? Like
maybe closer.
Maybe even closer, and never met until it was
And we shared like 50% of our
And we share like 50 friends. I can't deal. I don't know how that works. Time and place for everything, I guess. Okay, last question, actually. I really love this question because, the show embodies, second chances. How do you think you as an actor embody that, or even as a person, second chances?
Body second chances. I like to think that as a person, I like to go with the flow. And if something doesn't come out the way that I want it to, I'll accept it and I'll make the best of it. So that comes with the second chances, in a sense that nothing's ever final and there isn't a right way to do anything, What about you?
I do know. And I think I agree. I think for me personally, sometimes I am really, really receptive to the idea of giving second chances, and sometimes I'm not. And I related to that in Destiny's character, though, because she's totally that way. We talked about this earlier, too. It was when she has that initial kind of tiff with Coach Korn, it's like him apologizing to her, sure, but her accepting that apology is a second chance. And so I think that, maybe does Mouse relate to kind of being that way? Because Mouse, when she comes off on screen, she's very I feel like she's very exact in what she tries to say.
Right. I feel like that also comes with the fact that she comes from a military family, as I said, and she really doesn't know anything else, if that makes sense, because she's so young that I think that she only listens to her family at this point, and she doesn't have any other opinions and any other people that could influence her into thinking that she could have other opinions that aren't her family's opinions.
True. Very nice. Well, Tisha?
Well, Tiana?
I think we've run out of questions.
Right.
And it's been such a nice time working with you.
This won't be the last.
I hope it's not. It really is a good show. It's a great show. Show. Big Shot, disneyplus, April 16th.
April 16th.
Friday. It's a Friday. What else are you doing with your Friday? That's
Next
what
week?
I gotta say.
Oh my gosh.
We in a panty. What is you doing on a Friday? Staying home. Amen. You know what I mean? Hallelujah, sister. Any questions for me?
How's your mom?
My mom's great. She's outside. She says this. This is what she says to you. How's your mom, Tisha?
My mom's great.
Sweet lady.
Yeah, sweet lady. I think she's working tonight.
No.
Wait, not no.
Oh, dude, honestly, grateful for a job. As I said, in a panty. Panoramic. Pandemic.
Panorama.
Well, Tish Kebab, I hope to see your sweet, sweet face in person sometime soon.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stay healthy.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too.